Welcome, my friends, to the Redallover Away-in Show with me, Andy Simcox. In this show, I'll be talking to friends old and new about their team who are due to face the mighty Reds shortly. We'll cover topics such as their team's formation, style of play, players to watch out for, strengths, weaknesses, their aspirations and hopes for this game and for the future. But before all that, let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, a long time ago in the annals of history, a 4-year-old boy was walking down Oakwell Lane, holding tightly onto his dad's hand. He was then lifted over the turnstile and they made their way around the ground to be able to watch the team. His dad put him on his shoulder on the cob so he could watch his heroes such as Barry Murphy, our longest serving player. Fast forward 60 odd years and that hero is still around as an ambassador of the club, and the cob is now an all-seater stand named after the legend, the Barry Murphy stand. That 4-year-old boy is now finally back on the away end. Enjoy the show. Roll the titles. A big warm Redallover welcome to Matt from the New York Talk podcast. God, it's a mouthful. It's a mouthful. New York. Tell us about New York Talk, please, Matt.
It's twice a week pod. We do like a Sunday, Thursday episode, which is normally a review and then a preview if there's no midweek game. We try our best to keep it fun and light-hearted, but with football, with how bad the football has been, it's not been easy. The downward spiral the last 2 years has been very, very difficult to stay anywhere near positive.
I understand that.
But it's great. I love speaking to our fans and then speak to you guys, other fans as well. We do same kind of thing as this, where we speak to opposition. It keeps us going through the week and keeps us talking about the clubs that we love. I really enjoy it.
How do you get the name New York? I know, and a spoiler. I used to work right next to New York Stadium, so every day for a number of years before I retired, I could look out of the window in the office I were in and see the New York Stadium. It was devastating to me, absolutely devastating. It was like rubbing my nose in it every single day. But so I understand. I was about then when it was built, and I know the Guest and Grimes. I know where it was built on. I also, can you tell us why?
Yeah, so the story goes that at the Guest and Crime site, that's where they built the famous New York City fire hydrants.
Yeah.
I'd never heard that until the stadium was built. I'd never heard that. So I'm from Rotherham, I didn't even know that was a thing. So it was good to learn when the stadium was built.
It was well named then, wasn't it? 'Cause that link with New York was really, really well named. So yeah, I were about when it was being built. That devastated. Never mind. Tell us a bit about yourself then, Matt, if you don't mind.
So I've been supporting Rotherham for must be 30 years now. No, nearly 30 years. And it's a roller coaster. I'm sure every club is similar, but I've seen about 6 or 7 promotions, similar relegations, couple of Wembley, 3 Wembley wins, 1 Wembley loss. It keeps you on your toes supporting your local club. It's different with the big boys, but supporting your club keeps you on your toes, and it's just fun. I just love the pre-game stuff, the post-game stuff, and just great supporting your football club. And wouldn't change my club, and I'm sure you guys wouldn't change your club for the world. It's beautiful.
I mean, I'll tell you this. This is about trying to make you feel better about yourself. I told you before we started. My mate Alan, who's a Rotherham United season ticket holder, and has been for. I mean, he's just retired, so for donkey's years. When I told him I were going to be doing this with New York Talk, he said, "Get Matt on. Matt's best. He's the best one to get on. you'll get on great with Matt. He's by far the best. And there aren't others. I'm only kidding about the others. I'm just adding that bit.
Yeah.
Get Matt on. Matt's the one you need to talk to. So you got a glowing report from a fellow Rotherham fan, mate.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So it's been after relegation last year. Sorry to
Mm.
bring it up. It's been a turmoil for you, hasn't it? With players in, players out,
Mm.
new manager. Everything changed in the summer, and maybe did again in January. Tell us about how the season's panned out with the changes.
Yeah, pretty badly. The only thing about last season was we won 5 games all last season, and you end it and you kind of go, okay, that was really, really bad. But because we're going to go down, we're going to win some games finally again, and there's going to be an air of positivity. We might not go straight back up, but we'll be challenging. And Steve Evans told us in the summer that I guarantee that we'll be challenging for promotion. And then day one we lost 1-0 away to Exeter, and it didn't really get much better than that, to be honest with you. It's just been a bit of a mess. We'll come on to kind of tactics and formations later on, maybe,
Yeah.
but there's a lack of identity about this team that started in from last season. I think the kind of club's infected with negativity at the minute, which Steve Evans was kind of brought in to fix that, and it just hasn't worked so far. I think it was 14 signings in the summer that came in. I think we'll got out 16, including the loans from last year.
Mm.
And it's just, yeah, you just feel, I don't know whether he signed too much, he signed too many different kinds of players, or whatever the case may be. But it's just never really got going. You win back-to-back games, and you think, okay, well, this is it. We're on a bit of a run here, and then you go lose to Burton or somebody in the relegation zone lower down the league and things like that. So sitting 15th, not where we expected to be, not where we should be. But the players have signed are good players. This is not
Mm.
us kind of being arrogant. These are players that should be nowhere near 15th place. So there's big question marks about where we are, where we're going, because Steve Evans is a short-term manager, and if he's not achieving now, is he
Yeah.
going to achieve next year? I'm concerned kind of where the club's future is at the minute. But it's just been a spiral of negativity over the last 18 months or so.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I don't suppose it will, but if it makes you feel any better, as the season we're about to start, the ones that come on all the people that
Mm,
I talk with that come on the Red All Over show or support the Red All Over show, I put out a thing. Who do you think's going to finish
mm.
in the top two, get promotion? Who do you think's going to be in the playoffs? And quite a good number showed exactly why they're useless at predicting, because and a few predicted that you get automatic promotion,
Right.
and quite a lot thought that you get in the playoffs. Who knows? Who knows what's going to
Yeah,
happen?
true.
So
Yeah,
that
still a
there's going
chance.
to be, but some of the people also said us as well. We were going to be as well. So some of my colleagues on Red All Over are going to get some right egg on the face if you don't make the playoffs at least. Um, so rest assured, you're not the only one that had high hopes for yourselves. We were absolutely convinced. Not me, obviously,
Yeah,
because you know I, when I was a younger, when I was a
mm.
teenager, Rotherham were the team I hated.
Was it really? Okay.
Oh, the rivalry between Barnsley and Rotherham. At
Mm.
that, people from I've got friends that
Mm.
supported Rotherham, but we hated each other. The clubs, not each
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
Hated the clubs. But gradually, as the years have gone by, that's changed, and it saddens me that he's changed because why I can't hate you anymore, and that's not right. At Millmoor with the Tivoli end and all that and sloping
Mm.
pitch, I can no longer hate you, and that really distresses me. So, because of my mate Alan,
Mm.
I want you to do well. I wanted you to stay up last year. I want you to do well. I want us to do well, but I want
Mm.
you to do well. Um, it's just Sheffield Wednesday. I don't mind
Correct.
anybody else.
Correct.
Hopefully, Sheffield Wednesday. But I'll not
We
talk
do.
about it because I'll just start waxing lyrical and I'll get hate mail. So just say that. So let me bring you back to your team. You said formation and style. Tell
Mm.
tell me if you've got one. Tell me what your style and formation is usually.
Well, we certainly haven't got a style, which is part of the problem. The formation. So we changed on the 1st of January. A new year, new formation. Steve Evans decided. Kind of a kind of a 4-4-2, but a weird diamond, and it works
Yeah,
really well, really, really well. 6 games unbeaten. We battered Bolton, we battered Charlton, and we
good
kind of thinking,
teams.
okay,
Good teams.
exactly, really, really good teams, and we didn't just win, we really did take them apart. We're kind of thinking this is it. We've nailed it. We've clicked it. It's got the jigsaws in the right places. There was energy. The strikers were scoring. The midfielders were chipping in. Defense looked fantastic. we were in. And then we went to Burton, and Burton realised when you play a diamond, there's bags of space out wide.
Yeah.
And Burton scored. Burton put 4 past us at their place, and then since then it's gone downhill. We've gone in the last 2 games. We've changed formation at half time, which is never a good sign when you're kind of having to do that. We either play a 4-4-2 diamond, so very very narrow, or we'll play a 3-5. Sorry, a 5-3-2. Basically a flat back 5, 3 central midfielders and 2 strikers. So whichever way we do it, we are very very narrow, which is something we are constantly frustrated from. We're very very narrow, but all our goals come from wide areas. We're just not doing it enough to kind of impact the players. Evans still don't know his best 11, so he can't. Yeah, there's no identity to the team. He keeps tweaking things and changing things in the hope that it clicks, and it did for a month. But actually, it's gone well. We lost to Shrewsbury, lost to Reading at the weekend as well. We've lost any spark we had from a month ago. It's just been ripped out of the club again.
God, it's going to be a boring game on Saturday then, because everything you said, I could just say with you. I could have just said with you. We've tended to have your second formation, the 3 at the back or 5 at the back and 3 midfield, 1 holding, and 2 strikers or 1 striker and one player just behind him and what have you. But occasionally we've switched. We switched a couple of games ago to a 4-4-2, and again, like exactly what you've said, a diamond, and we had to change it back at half time because we were at Stockport. We played 4-4-2, and we were shocking in the first half. Changed it 2-0 down, changed it back, pulled a goal back, but went back to the normal. It's the only thing they can play. The only thing they can play. It's at the start of the season, Darryl Clark kept changing formations, players, often in games, 2 and 3 times in games, and didn't know what he wanted from them. He gradually settled on the formation that they can play, which is 3 centre halves and what have you. The problem for us is we can't play 90 minutes. It's very rare that we can play a full 90 minutes. We either have a shocking first half and a decent second half, or the other way around. Against the last match against Huddersfield, we had a good first half, more or less, dominated it for most of it. Absolutely awful in the second half. Couldn't even pass it to a Barnsley player. And gifted 2 goals. The big thing that you can watch for us, from 75 minutes, I think we've conceded more goals than anybody else.
Really? Okay.
And we concede loads of goals in added time. And the vast majority, I hope if you score late on, it's because you've earned it. Because you won't have to. If we continue, in the last two games, we've conceded 2 goals against Stockport and then against Huddersfield. And we've gifted all 4. It's been shockingly poor. So the good bit for us is that Mark Roberts was suspended. Mark Roberts hopefully will come back, because it's the only way of shoring it up a bit. So it's a bit like you're saying, it's all doom and gloom. We didn't know what style we were playing. Then we hit it off. When it came round to, we were sort of just outside the playoffs and then just got inside it. And Christmas came, and we had 4 games over Christmas and start a new year, where we won all 4 and won them well. Away to Bolton, I said away to Peterborough, home to Wrexham, were 3 of them, and looked really, really good. So everybody was hoping January transfer window. I'll ask you about that in a minute. All we need is a proven goal scorer. We're creating loads of chances, but not quite putting it in the net, missing it, slicing it, hitting the post, hitting the bar. Great goalkeeper. A proven goal scorer who would find the net. We didn't. We signed some players, but not proven. And I honestly don't know. I've seen them play a couple of times. I don't know if they're going to be any good or not. Just don't know. But they're not proven goal scorers. So we dropped off. We dropped off in January from all that. We were supposed to play Northampton, who we're actually playing next Tuesday. But it was called off because of the conditions, the pitch and what have you, frozen pitch. And from that, we've lost 5 and drawn 1 against Burton at home, 0-0. We've played all right in snatches, but the vast majority of the time it's been woeful. Been woeful. And there's some people starting to protest about the board not backing the manager, and there's some justification from saying not backing the manager. Other people are saying the players are earning the money they need to pull the finger at. You can't blame a manager, you can't blame a board if they're not passing it to a Barnsley player. If they're just anywhere will do. And the big thing was from last week, a bit about the manager as well, or the head coach, Darryl Clark, about it was all there. We were the first half against Huddersfield, we played really, really well. The players came off to cheers, boos all around for Huddersfield.
Mm.
They came out and they hammered us in the second half. Got two gifted goals, but it was coming.
Yeah.
So can he motivate them? It couldn't have been that hard to motivate him, and it all went to pot in the second half. So there's question marks, like you've got about yours, question marks all over the place about it. So
Mm.
who knows? Who knows what's going to go? Right, for Saturday, I know it's an
Mm.
early kick-off, and so it's an half 12 kick-off for anybody watching. Don't, don't,
Turn
don't
up
be
at
late.
three.
I did it once years ago. We had a pre-season friendly at Rotherham, and so me
Right.
and all my family turned up at 3 o'clock, and everybody's going other way, thinking where they're going. Half 12 kick or 1 o'clock kick-off. Everybody were coming out as we were going in, so that weren't great. That
No.
weren't great. So I've done that myself. Half 12, folks. So there's that. Um, Tell us about your transfer window in January.
Rubbish, just rubbish. We went into it kind of saying was we need to not lose too many players. We were already a pretty small squad. We lost a net loss of 3 players, so
Oh,
which was a bad area. We desperate for a fullback. We're desperate for some players in the wide area, and we're desperate for a mobile striker. Not necessarily like not necessarily an out-and-out goal scorer, but just somebody who can move about the pitch a little bit. We signed 3 central midfielders. So we just every box that we ticked, we should tick literally the opposite box of what we needed. Um, like you mentioned, some of your fans are happy with the board. The questions on our side in this since last summer, we've raked in over £2 million with the transfer fees, and we've not paid a transfer fee for any player that's come in. Now I know fees aren't actually free.
I know.
And loans cost money, everything else, but I don't know where that money's gone. I can't tell you where that money's gone. Which players are taking up that money? It doesn't make any sense to me. So fans are unhappy. Um, so that's deflecting a bit of blame off Steve Evans. The fact that it doesn't feel like he's been backed by the board and whatnot, but he's still choosing to sign 3 central midfielders when we don't need any central midfielders. So there's lots of blame to go around. And like you said, we were in a positive place going into mid-January, mid to end of January, we were in a positive place, and then the end of the window comes and it's rubbish, and we lose to Burton, and then you have a deflation because of your window. It was just a perfect mess. And they're all short term. We haven't signed anybody on more than a 2-year contract
Yeah.
in about 3 years. To be honest, we've got a bit of a mess with that kind of thing. So everything about the club's short term at the minute. So yeah, and January kind of encapsulated all that negativity with that. So, but players we signed annoyingly are good. Sibley's a good player. Dango
Yeah.
from Manu should be a good player, and Panzo's a great player. The signings themselves are good. They're just not in the areas we needed them.
Yeah. You only play 11, and you need players in all those positions, don't
Exactly.
you, to all gel together. I
Mm.
noticed that you've lost 4 out of the last 6,
Mm.
but I also looked about your last 6 home matches, and apart from the
Mm.
last one that you lost, you won 3 on the trot before that. So it's not stats are there, but it's
Mm.
not all awful.
No.
Not all awful. I know. I mean, Sam Nomby. Like you say,
Mm.
when you, I know we did you well at Barnsley.
Yes.
Don't get upset with me. Um, I know we're only 2-0, but we hammered you. No,
Oh,
don't.
you did.
Sam Nomby. I thought Sam Nomby played well at Barnsley.
Mm.
He ran about. He put himself about. He spent most of the time, which surprised me a bit, on the left hand side, not quite the
Mm.
left wing, but close.
Mm.
So how's he doing? So I always rated him.
Number is a weird one because if he cost 250 grand or free, we'd always sit there saying he's a great player because the
Yeah,
work rate's there, he's flexible, he's clinical without being fantastic in that kind of area. Because he cost £1 million, everybody's going, well, what does he bring?
lots of
You
money.
you've got to, as a fan, I know it's difficult, and what we got to try and do is take that money away from it. And for me, Sam Nombe is a classic Rotherham United player. The work rate's fantastic. I think the fact he's so flexible hurts him because he is a striker and he's a good striker, but he's got pace so he can go out and left. On last weekend's Reading, we played him in a 10, which again he can do. He's fine at it, but it's not his best position. So
Yeah.
his flexibility hurts him. But I'm a big Sam Nombe fan. Yeah, he's always available. He's never injured as well. Touch wood. So he's always. Other players are injured quite a lot. So I'm a big Sam Nombe fan. He comes in for a lot of unfair stick for me. But
Price
he's
tag.
something we
Yeah,
can build on, hopefully.
yeah, yeah. Another one that you signed in the summer that I thought, oh, God, when we play here, he's going to score an hat trick because he always scores against us. He always scores. Johnson Clark Harris. He
Mm.
always scores against us. It's even if he's a sub, he comes on and scores. It's just. I hope he's. If he will he be playing for you? Do you think on Saturday? Tell
He'll
me
be
he's not. He'll
fit.
not. Tell me he'll not be playing because it
I
doesn't matter
hope
how
he.
bad he is. He'll still score against us.
I, um, he'll be fit. I hope he doesn't play. He doesn't deserve to play based on who else has played well recently.
I agree.
He's been a bit of a disaster signing so far. Like the lad's legs have gone. He's always been a unit, and I think
Yeah,
when he was younger, he was able to carry that weight quite well. He can't carry his own weight at the minute. I said before we start recording, some fans are referring to him as the human wardrobe because he just ambles around the pitch. If you get Johnson Clark Harris in the penalty box, you'll be great.
yeah.
But don't ask him to do anything else because he can't. He just literally can't move. And we're not great at putting the ball in the box for crosses and things like that. So we've signed a player that Steve Evans doesn't seem to know how to use. I would be amazed if he starts, but it's Steve Evans, so I shouldn't really be amazed at anything, to be honest with
He probably looked at his stats against Barnsley and think, "Oh, we better
you.
start.
Yeah.
He'll score." My mate Alan says exactly the same, Matt. He
Mm.
says, "Let me ask you. There's a few I want to ask you about. Let me
Mm.
ask you about Malik Wilkes because
Mm.
I was, we signed him from Doncaster Rovers. When it had been at Doncaster Rovers the previous season and was outstanding. And I was so excited when we signed him because I thought this is a player that's really going to do something for us. And truthfully, he generally didn't.
Mm.
It just I can't say that he's a rubbish player because I don't think he is a rubbish player. I think he's a good player, but it just didn't work out with us, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's to
Mm.
do with him, the fit. Like I said, sometimes like with Johnson Clark Harris, sometimes the fit's there, sometimes it's not there.
Mm.
I don't think he fitted with us. He spent a lot of time on the right wing, cutting inside, somebody trying to tackle, either losing the ball or going down and not getting a free kick.
Mm.
It just didn't work for him. How's it been for you?
He's been our standout player this season, to be fair to him. I can see what you mean, though. He's one of those players that needs to be motivated in the right area. And if he isn't motivated, he'll be kind of useless. He'll just amble around. Steve Evans seems to have been able just to almost give him a free rein, just kind of do what you want, Malik Wilkes. And he talks him up in press. I think he's good at putting his arm around players in certain circumstances. I think to be fair, to give Evans credit where he deserves it, I think he's done a really, really good job with Malik Wilkes. He's been out injured 3 or 4 weeks. He came back on Saturday, and
Right.
instantly you could see we miss him. He's so direct with the ball. He loses the
Yeah.
ball loads, but he's so direct. He gains you 20 yards up pitch before you've even noticed anything. He is actually he's been the star player. I'm not sure if he's top scorer, but he won't be far off. If we're going to have a good afternoon Saturday, it'll be because Malik Wilkes will have impacted the game one way or another.
Where does he
Uh,
tend to play, Matt? He used to play on the right for us. He's
he
kind of
he
left-footed, but
is now playing as a striker.
right, okay,
What has been happening was before he was injured, it was Nombe and Wilkes as the two strikers.
right.
So it was full of energy. So
Mm.
that's what caused Charlton and Bolton so many problems because they just went at people and you could stretch the game or they could come deep because they're both technically pretty good. So he has been as a striker, and I feel like that's his best position at the minute. But like I say, he's useful because he
Yeah.
has played left and right. He's even played as a 10 so this season. He's been so flexible for us so far.
Oh, I'm glad he's doing well. So I don't want any ex-Barnsley player not to play well, except on Saturday. I hope he has an
Yeah, of
absolute
course.
stinker on Saturday. But apart from that, a
Mm,
couple others. You talked a bit about Louis Sibley. He
mm,
was a player that I rated when I used to watch Derby.
mm,
He looked a good player. I think. Tell me if I'm wrong, so I don't want to get it wrong. I think this season he's signed for Oxford from
mm.
Derby, or signed on, and he's come to you on loan. Is that right?
He has, yeah. So he signed in there summer, played not many games. I don't know if he's had injuries or whatever. He's not played
Right.
much for Oxford. And then he's come out on loan. He's done all right. He scored within like 2 minutes of his debut, and we kind of thinking, here we go, this is it. He did well for the second half against Cambridge, which was 3 or 4 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks ago now. He's very lightweight, very, very lightweight. And for a central midfielder in League One, that's a bit of a problem. You need to have a bit of physicality. So he can drift in and out of games. If you can get somebody on him, you can keep him quiet pretty easily. having said that, when he does do something, what he does tends to be really, really good.
Yeah.
But you can't have too many of those. And Wilkes is a little bit like that. And we've got Joe Powell, who's also a little bit in and out of games. So if you've got one of those players, I think it's all right. But I think Sibley's maybe a man too physically weak. And he's just struggling to have impacts in games at the minute. There's something there, obviously, but he is struggling to have an impact at the minute.
And I thought you'd strengthen, well, you probably have strengthened your defence in signing Portsmouth Sean Raggett,
Mm.
because he looked good for Portsmouth, I thought, when he were
Mm.
playing for them. How's he panned out?
He, he was one of those players that classic Rotherham. He played. He was almost ever present for Portsmouth, I think, last year, and he's played about 6 games for us this year.
Oh, right.
He's
I
currently out
didn't know.
injured with bone bruising, which I wasn't aware was a thing. I mean, in
No.
professional sport, really. So, yeah, he looks like one of those players. He needs games. For the first 2 or 3 games after, he looks like he's not ran for about 4 weeks, and every time we've seen him, that's what it's been. But yeah, he's just been desperate and unlucky with injury. From a guy that's not injury prone, he's just been unlucky with injury. So we've had to do with that. I felt what you just said. I was excited to see Raggett. You can build a defense around him. He's strong. He's good in both boxes. But yeah, he's just been done by injuries, unfortunately.
And the player that we loaned from you last season, Jamie
Mm.
McCart, is he playing for you, or has he shifted again?
He's gone.
Oh, I
He
don't
went.
know. I didn't know.
Yeah, he's gone to Hearts, and if you've not seen this, he's gone to Hearts and scored two own goals at the weekend against Rangers.
That's Jamie.
That's Jamie.
Do you know, it's funny because last season he started off in the defence, and he looked on the left hand side, he looked pretty decent, and then all of a sudden he sort of went off the boil. We had a few. He went off the boil, and he seemed to like aimless balls
Yeah.
forward. And it didn't used to be. He used to do some really good crossfield passes, but
Mm.
then I don't know if he lost his range, wide on the left to the wing back on the right. But then he started going out to play, going straight to the goalkeeper, all that. So
Mm.
he's certainly lost his way, which were a
Yeah.
bit of a. So who's your central pair in them? Because I'm thinking it might be Sean Rackett and Jamie McCart,
No,
and it
it's
ain't.
no. If we go four at the back, so it's two central defenders, it'll be a Dauphin and Zach Jules.
Right.
And to be fair, they've been great defense. They've been great together. Hakeem Duffin's actually our best midfielder, our best attacking midfielder, but he can play at centre half,
Yeah.
and it was just a bit of a revelation. So those are two. If we play five at the back but three central defenders, then Cam Humphreys will come in as like the
I
middle of the
remember
three.
Cameron Humphreys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, flipping it. Right. I'm going to give you a list of players that have played for both clubs.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to ask you in a minute. I'm going to ask you about what your strengths are, and I'm
Mm.
going to ask you, but I'll not tell anybody what the weaknesses of the team are. But first, just for people, we're not going to talk about them in great length because otherwise they'll have kicked off before we finish this show. don't, don't want that. To my knowledge, that there might be more. There might be more. 19 players have played for both in various ways for both Rotherham and Barnsley. So the first one, I think he were injured a lot for you, who were a star for us, Carlton Morris. So
Mm.
the people that view this, the four or five people that watch this show, whether you're a Rotherham United fan and you think I'm going to see what all that nonsense is about, or just want to watch you, Matt, because Alan says you're the best, or Barnsley fans, in the comments, comment about memories. Don't slate him and say crap him, but just try and do some memories about some of these players. We got Carlton Morris, who were a star for us, Phil Gridlett, who we called, I think he played half a dozen times for us. I told you before, we call him God, because people know he's there, or people think he's there, but they've never seen him. Okay. Eddie O'Hara, who were a winger from donkeys years ago. Yeah, I
Mm.
think possibly before my time, certainly
Okay.
before your time. Ian Banks, who had the hardest shot I've ever seen at all. Well, and I'll just bring it up. He scored goals against you when we beat you 4-3 at your ground when it was Millmore and all that lot. And Ronnie Glavin got the other, just to rub it in a little bit. So Ian Banks, Norman Hunter, who came with Alan Clark. When Alan Clark was the manager, he brought him in and were outstanding for us, Norman, towards the
Mm.
end of his career. When Clark left for Leeds, he became our manager, and I know he came to you as well, didn't he,
Mm.
for that? Um, Dale Tong, who one of our right
Mm.
backs, and I know he went to you and he had a career with
Yeah,
you.
good.
that went beyond just playing. So there's Dale. Adam Hamill, who is worshipped still at Oakwell. I'm not so sure he did so well for you, but he absolutely worshipped at Oakwell, including when he came, he'd been on loan, signed, and then we sold him to Wolves. He came back a couple of years later and got us to 2 Wembley finals and scored 2 brilliant goals at Wembley. He's a star. Angus MacDonald, Goose. He were a big, strong lad for us, and he's still playing. I watched the game on television the other day, and he's playing.
Popped up.
He popped up. Angus MacDonald. Where's he come from? So Ghost were there, and he's played for both clubs. And Chris O'Grady, who's got the thickest and the thickest legs I've seen, and the most defined calves and thighs. If he flexed them, he could cause a major incident with his calves and thighs. God, he did all right for us. Campbell Rice were like lightning for us, and I know he were good for you. He did really well for us. Malik, we've talked about. Jamie, we've talked about. On loan currently, we've got Dexter Lembikisa, Kesey, that you had, and my mate says he's a good player. Well, I told you he played a good game when he came on against Stockport. He wasn't so good the other day, but that's it. You had two gutted with this. All of a sudden, you got two strikers who we thought were all right. Well, one that we thought were brilliant, and you got them both thinking he's trying to be Barnsley. He's trying to take over. If you're going to be Barnsley, Matt, if you're going to be Barnsley, get rid of the white sleeves. Just be red. If you just want our players, just be red. Danny Nardiello, loved Nardiello. He's been on our show, and he's an absolute star, Nardiello. He scored a goal he scored loads of goals, but scored a goal at the Millennium Stadium when we went up in the playoffs against Swansea. Great player for us. Coyote Odijayi, who on his day were unplayable. He was when he got the bit between his teeth, nobody could get near him. They bounced off him. Other times you'd think, is he a footballer? The sad thing for Coyote, as he played at Wembley in the FA Cup semi-final against Cardiff, missed and threw on goal. We're losing 1-0, threw on goal, goalkeeper to beat. I was straight behind. I was 5 yards away from that goal, and he put it past the post. It were his moment, and he put it past the post. And like often happens in football, forget anybody else's career. It all comes down to one moment, and truthfully, wrongly, that was Coyote's moment. And oh dear, Kiefer Moore, great for us, target man. I remember him playing for you, I think with Danny Ward up front when you played in a pre-season friendly. You'd done us 4-0 and we were awful. And
I think you signed him because of our loan.
I think it was brilliant for us.
Yeah.
And, really rated. I had no idea that for 3 games you had our Bruce Dyer on loan. Bruce. No idea that Bruce had been to you. We've had Bruce on the show, and I tell you what, now I know that, he's not coming on again. No matter how much he begs, he's done. 84, 86, Gordon Owen played for both teams, which good winger. Glyn Snodding, that really threw me because I know we'd had Glyn Snodding for a short while. I know he were, mainly for Doncaster with his brother. But I didn't realise you'd had him at all. But yeah, and then of course, last but not least, but not as a player, I can only think of one person who's managed both teams, and that's did Norman Hunter manage you?
Oh, he didn't. Yes, Norman Hunter managed us.
Yeah. Norman Hunter. I've tried to block that out of my mind. Rest in peace, Norm. Mark Robbins, who were really good for us, and I think they say history, learn lessons of history. He didn't get the backing that he felt he needed, and so he left us after having gone from you because he was doing so well for you at a time when coming to us were a step up, and now it would be the opposite way around. Football's like that, isn't it? Cyclical like that. He left because he didn't feel he were being backed, and he probably wasn't. So they're all the people. So anybody wants to know about them, get some comments in pleasantly. Be fair and balanced. Don't just say Coyote's crap or whatever. Mr. Sitton, he should never put a shirt. All that. Don't want any of that nonsense. No. Be kind, folks. Just be kind. So we come to a bit now, Matt, which I'm not sure I'll enjoy you, Matt. I don't know. Where I think I told you before, we've got 2 young lads called George and Isaac Webster, 11-year-old twins, and they think that they are going to be the new stars of Redallover when me and Alan Smith have been put out to pasture, which could be frankly, after this show at this rate. So they're called, a bit like Ant and Dec, they're called Little Al and Andy. So I'm going to put that, they want to ask you about, I think it's about 4 questions. So I'm going to put them on in a minute to ask you a few questions. But before I do that, tell me your team's strengths so I can start crying on air. What's the strengths of
Um,
Rotherham?
Strengths is a different one. I think if Wilkes is playing with Nombe, the strengths is the pace that we got up top. If you try and play out from the back, we'd then have a press, and the press like I said, against Charlton and Bolton was perfect. So that would be a strength, and I think Wilkes will probably be fit for this one. So I think that's going to be a strength.
Are they the players to watch for?
Definitely a place to watch for. If they play that, they will then become the strength. If without those, we look okay defensively. I think that's as kind as I can be to us at the minute.
And I promise you're still going to go further. What weaknesses have you got? Give me some hope. Give me some hope, Matt.
We are so easy to play through the middle. We play with 3 central midfielders, so there should be no space, and it should be really difficult. Teams have literally just run through the middle of us more than once in games. So if you can get a bit of confidence and you can really move our midfielders, which is not hard, there will be gaps. Just for if you got to play with a bit of confidence, a bit of skill, we can literally just run through the middle of us.
Right, flipping heck. Right, having said all that, Matt, I'm going to bring them on. Here they are. They're going to ask the first question of you.
Who's your tumble down, Ted? The one that's going down in the box like he's been shot by a sniper.
This is very, very, very easy. This this is Jordan Hugel. Now Jordan Hugel was a great player. He played in the Premier League for West
Yeah.
Ham. He went for millions and millions. But if there's a strong breeze at New York Stadium, he might struggle. To be honest with you,
I
bless
think
him.
it's going to be windy as well.
No, exactly. He's one of those frustrating players because he's good. He's a good player. He's got everything he needs, but he's it's obvious he's played at a really high level because he's just trying to win those horrible fouls that Premier League players get and everything like that. So, yeah, good
You
old
see, it
John.
surprised me a bit because I'd have thought you'd have said Malik Wilkes because we were used to Malik going down like a good one.
Okay. No, he's not so bad. Wilkes is one of his strengths is that he's really robust at the minute in terms of staying up. So he's improved that side.
He's a good player, Matt. I'm not being horrible about him. I've told you I want him to do well, but
Yeah.
not on Saturday. Right, that's enough about. I'm sick of Rotherham now. That's enough about them. They're going to ask you another one, but this is about you. They're going to ask you about you. So I'm going to put them on for the second question.
Why don't you support a good team? Yeah, like Liverpool or Manchester City. Or best of all, Barnsley.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough on that. That's a dig. Look, I suppose
I
more
tell you, the
fashion-
little scamps. The scamps, what can I tell you?
um, I think it's a family thing. I've been Rotherham fan since at least my great grandparents. Once you go as a kid, you're just in. Obviously, when I was in the 90s, the Premier League was just starting, so it wasn't kind of everywhere like it is now. So I may have been different. I had to grown up now, but yeah, Rotherham United was everything when I was a kid. I wanted to know the league tables, I wanted to watch the highlights, and it's kind of stuck with me for almost 30 years now. And like we mentioned earlier, I wouldn't change it for the world, although it's hard a lot of the time. I still wouldn't change it.
I don't think there's anything wrong whatsoever about supporting your local club. Nothing wrong at all. Funnily enough, and I wonder if my mate Martin Alan will put it in the comments. I hope it. I'm going to encourage him not to. I was actually born in West Melton and grew up in
Really?
West Melton and Wath, but of one-will parents. And I spent the first 10 months. Don't remember it. First 10 months living in Goldthorpe. Can't remember any of it. So of Barnsley folk, but born in West Melton because that's where my grandma lived. So so literally 6 miles one way, 6 miles the other way. But of course, all our family lived in Barnsley, apart from us. So I've got some sympathy for Rotherham and all that. So, but like you say, great grandparents and beyond. I've always been told all our families always supported Barnsley from its start. So, that's how it should be, isn't it? It shouldn't be any different to that. Let me put them on for the third one. So this is about what you think. So the third question's coming up now.
What is the one game that you would like to relive again?
This is a great question because, like I mentioned, because it's been a roller coaster, we've had some great days supporting Rotherham United. I would go back though. When we got promoted in 2001, I think it was. We got promoted. This was Ronnie Moore, double promotion. Got promoted from Division what is now League Two to League One, and then second to last game of the season, we had little old Rotherham had a chance to get to the Championship, and Alan Lee scored a 89th minute goal, which was just pandemonium. There's a video on YouTube if anybody wants to watch it with the great Brian Chappell's commentary. I was only I think at 10 or 11 at the time, so I'd love to go back and watch that game again and with my adult eyes watch it all again because that's my standout moment as a kid, and then the championship years as well. That was what I measure all my other Rotherham moments against is that Alan Lee moment. So I would love to go back and watch that again.
We used to love Ronnie Moore at Barnsley.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, he had some fabulous banter with Barnsley fans. We used to call him Donkey and he or at him. But it's only because we knew that he could score and he was a good striker. He's a sort of striker that we would have wanted, but it was Rotherham through and through. So an awful lot of banter. I thought he was going to say that the Wembley final. That's what I thought you were going to say. I told you before we started, I talk regularly to Matt Farley, the Stevenage manager. He wishes he was the Stevenage podcaster, and he absolutely loves Steve Evans. Absolutely loves Steve Evans. So he always wants him to do well. I think he wishes he's still got him. But they've got Alex Ravelna, another ex-Rotherham player, and as soon as he talks, it always reminds me of the Wembley final because Alex Ravel scored an absolutely world-class goal. How he scored from nigh on the halfway line was remarkable. What made it even more memorable was Steve running down the touchline like a whirlwind. And as being a big lad myself, I appreciate how quick he run. People thought he was just ambling. It looked quick to me. But it was a toss-up whether he was just going to fall down because he was running that as quickly as he could, or whether his trousers were going to come down first and trip him up. But magical moments, both from Rotherham via Stevenage and one run back to Rotherham. So I was surprised you didn't say that. So there you go.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put them. I've had enough. I've had enough of them now. They're not. They've got a number of more, but they're not having any more. They're just having one more, just to round it off for you. So I'm going to put them on for the final question, and then I'll cut them off. So the final question's this:
Who is the best player that you have ever seen play for your club?
This for me would be Lee Frecklington. He was a midfielder who played under Stevens first time. Stevens signed him first time round. Went on to become club captain. And he's just the kind of player I wanted to be. He was full of energy. He had that technical skill. He could score a goal. One of the few midfielders that I can ever remember scoring a hat trick for us. It was such a rare thing for a midfielder to do that. He was just kind of Mr. Rotherham. A lot of clubs have kind of players that fit their mold and what they kind of represent. And Frex was that guy. I'll work hard. I'll represent the town kind of thing. I just love Frex. He was just my idol.
Oh, he's a good player, really good player. I wonder if I'd ask your older members of your family if they'd have said John Quinn, the mighty Quinn, because oh God, I'm not going to keep bringing up Alan, but my mate Alan, we both went to Rotherham Civic to watch to watch the Manfreds, the shoot off a Manfred, the Manfred Man and what have you, and they sang the mighty Quinn. And they actually sang it oh dear. And Alan were up on his feet singing it, and he weren't singing the proper lyrics. He was singing it about Johnny Quinn. So, oh dear, it's harsh anyway. It's harsh. Right, we're coming very close to the end, and I can't thank you enough for this. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. We've come to the bit that we're both going to get miserable about. What's your prediction for the score?
It's going to be a dull game based on your recent form. I was worried because obviously based on first of all we never beat Barnsley. It's like the 70s or 80s since we last won. So our record is terrible.
Just imagine that we Sheffield Wednesday because you beat them easy.
We beat them. Oh, that's true actually. Yeah. And bear in mind, obviously looking at the last time we played you guys in November when we just laid down and you took us to pieces. That does concern me. But I see your recent form gives me some hope. we're at home, so I can't not back us at home. Like you mentioned earlier, our home form's pretty. It's not amazing, but it's pretty good. So I will go 1-0 to us. I think it'll be a terrible game, but I'll go. I think we'll just sneak it.
That's fine. I think, and they take the mickey out of me, Matt, because all the way through the season, not exclusively, but as near as makes no difference, I always said that we're going to win 2-1.
Okay.
There's been a couple of times when in fact, there was once I've said we're going to lose 2-1 and we're going to draw 1-1, and we're flaming 1-2-1. So more because I'm going to look a fool if I don't say. I'm going to look a fool if I do say 2-1 to Barnsley, but I'm going to look an absolute fool if I say 1-1 and we win 2-1. So I'm going to say 1-1.
Fair enough.
1-0. When I come to do our show tomorrow night, I'm going to say I lied to Matt. We're going to win 2-1. So just so you're aware. At the end of that, I'll just lie.
Yeah.
So I'll tell him. So I'm sorry for lying, but don't take on with it. It's a shame. Matt, thank you. I cannot thank you enough. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I've no doubt my mate will be so chuffed that it's you that's come on. The best of them all. So rest are all right. They're not bad. They're pretty good. But Matt's the one you want because he knows what he's talking about, and he's a fun guy, and he's a pleasure to talk with. So a glowing recommendation. Oh. And I'll tell you what, my mate Alan, he don't do glowing recommendations for anybody. He's as miserable as sin most of the time. So it's a glowing recommendation. So, and he weren't wrong. You've been an absolute pleasure to talk with. I wish you all the very, very best for you and your podcast, the New York Talk podcast. Catch on it, get it watched because it'll be good. Ones I've seen have been really, really good. You especially, Matt. Really, really good. And I wish you all the very best of luck for the rest of the season, except for from about 3 o'clock on Saturday onwards. Not before that. So thank you, mate. Thanks for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Finally, as Kenneth Wolstenholme said in 1966, there are some people on the pitch, they think it's red all over. It is now.